With the original Risen, Piranha Bytes condensed the bewildering openness of its previous work on the Gothic franchise without losing much of what made the series special. Risen 2 Dark Waters still stars the same hero, but he's hardly recognizable. Casting aside the high fantasy style of the first game, Dark Waters is all about becoming a pirate. It feels like a reinvention for the series as opposed to a continuation, challenging you to gather mystical artifacts in order to destroy an ancient evil. Pretty standard stuff, story-wise, but it all feels appropriately pirate-like, with crude, often offensive dialogue, heavy drinking, sword fights, and a few goofy, memorable characters. But while Piranha Bytes nails the setting and tone, the combat and exploration elements just aren't as interesting.
What's going on here?
We're boarding the ship.
Are you joking?
Do I look like I'm joking?
To arms! Defend the ship! I'll get you!
Instead of being set on a large landmass, the world of Risen 2 is broken up into small islands, each with its own quest set. Piranha Bytes has proven it knows how to create a detailed world that feels believable, and succeeds with Dark Waters in presenting a setting that feels plausible despite its many outlandish qualities, mostly because of the detail built into the environments. The small size of the islands makes it much harder to get lost in Dark Waters than in any of Piranha Bytes' previous games, which has a few effects. Combining the smaller environments with detailed quest tracking and easy-to-access fast traveling, Risen 2 is by far Piranha Bytes' most accessible game, minimizing frustration related to finding objectives and wasting time running between locations. On the other hand, because of the smaller environments, heading off the standard questing paths to discover hidden treasures just doesn't feel as exciting. There are still plenty of things to find, chests and legendary items, and an assortment of crafting components, but discovery isn't as rewarding as it could have been because Risen 2 lacks the thrill of unscripted adventure. Because Dark Waters is a more directed role-playing game than anything Piranha Bytes has done before, it feels more conventional, and aside from the pirate motif, doesn't manage to stand out from the crowd, even with its pretty visuals. It seems like Piranha Bytes is still struggling with creating a combat system that really works. You start without a class and are given the freedom to develop your pirate hero however you like. Fighting against other humans with swords can be fun, as you knock away incoming strikes, block, counterattack, kick away enemies, and mix in the occasional pistol shots. But that's really the only highlight. Musket combat is too straightforward to be any fun for more than a few encounters, and sword fights against creatures can be erratic and glitchy in large groups. Creatures' rapid attacks sometimes unfairly stun-lock your character, and at other times enemies will just circle while you slash at them, making the whole system feel unreliable and messy. Risen 2's voodoo system, which replaces the traditional elemental magic of the first Risen, certainly had potential, but winds up doing little that's novel, giving you a few options for mind control, stuns, and debuffs. Sure, it helps you stay alive, but rarely in a way that's particularly interesting. Followers you pick up while questing help out in combat as well, and are mostly useful as damage sponges against some of the more irritatingly cheap enemy types, which actually highlights how poor the combat system is. It's not a good sign when you feel relief over being able to avoid a combat encounter. With a good system, you should want to fight. To be clear, all the combat and magical elements still work. It's not a broken system, but it's hard to get very excited about many of the new skills and upgrades when they're all so conventional and buried in such a convoluted character development system. Risen 2 Dark Waters is Piranha Bytes' most accessible role-playing game yet, but in the process of making its formula more palatable to a wider audience, much of what made the studio's previous work stand out was lost. Tack on a combat system that still suffers from issues that have plagued past Piranha Bytes games, and boring alternatives to the sword fighting if you choose to use muskets or voodoo skills, and there isn't much about Risen 2 that's truly memorable aside from its pirate theme. There are the occasional flashes of potential in Risen 2, but no idea is explored or developed as fully as it should have been, making the adventure feel like a string of missed opportunities. For more on Risen 2, you can check out IGN.com.